Welcome to my online Bible study. If this is your first time with me, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share with you my knowledge and my understanding of Scripture. If you are a repeat viewer, I want to also thank you for returning. When I began this video, I had really no idea exactly how it was going to end. I really didn't have a preconceived conclusion or an answer to the question that I'm about to propose. And that question is, are we being fair to Thomas when we call him Doubting Thomas? Does he really deserve that title? Now, at first glance, there appears to be a conflict between Thomas's asking for some kind of proof that Jesus really did come back from the dead and the advice that Paul gives to his Galatian believers about being more careful about what they believe concerning the gospel. And also John, who advises us not to believe every spirit. We'll get to those in a minute. Both Paul and John encourage us to prove things first by carefully looking into them before we believe. But because of Thomas's reticence to believe that Jesus rose from the dead without proof, he was nicknamed Doubting Thomas. Are interpreters really being fair to Thomas? Are they really presenting us with the complete story? That's what I wanted to discuss today. So let's begin with Paul's quote from Galatians, which reads this way. It's from Galatians chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. I marvel that you are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Christ unto another gospel, which is not another. But there be some that trouble you, and would pervert the gospel of Christ. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. So it appears that the Galatians were eager to believe anything that was preached to them without confirming or giving it careful examination. And then we have from the first letter of John, chapter 4, verse 1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Now, John's advice is to try the spirits, meaning to test or to prove the spirits to see if they are of God. But how can we prove or test something without first doubting what we hear? And doubt would then require us to find some kind of evidence to either support or deny the claim. So was Thomas so wrong to require that he touch the wounds of Christ in order to prove the claim that he was the resurrected Christ? One of the first things that came to my mind here was that Thomas must have heard Jesus' preaching and his teaching about his death and the promise of his resurrection. So this should not have been a big surprise to him or the rest of the disciples for that matter. And there are several places in Scripture where Jesus tells his disciples what was about to happen. We have in Matthew chapter 17, verses 22 and 23. It says, And while they abode in Galilee, Jesus said unto them, The Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and the third day he shall be raised again. And they were exceeding sorry. Another place was when the women went to the tomb after Christ was crucified, and the angel came to them and spoke about Jesus' whereabouts. And we find that in Luke chapter 24, verse 6 through 9. He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spake unto you when he was yet in Galilee, saying, The Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men, and be crucified, and the third day rise again? And they remembered his words, and returned from the sepulchre, and told all these things unto the 11 and to the rest. Now there was 11 disciples left because Judas had committed suicide. So Thomas was one of those 11 who certainly heard this message from the women as well as the others who were there. And in Matthew, Jesus directly tells his disciples what was going to happen. This is found in Matthew chapter 20, verse 17 through 19. It's also found in chapter 16, verse 21, and in Luke chapter 9, verse 22. And Jesus, going up to Jerusalem, took the 12 disciples apart in the way, and said unto them, Behold, we go up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man shall be betrayed unto the chief priests and unto the scribes, and they shall condemn him to death, and shall deliver him to the Gentiles to mock and to scourge and to crucify him. And the third day he shall rise again. And Luke gives us a little bit of insight about how the disciples handled what they were hearing, these sayings of Jesus. So in Luke chapter 18, verse 32 through 34, we hear this. And they understood none of these things, and this saying was hid from them. Neither knew they the things which were spoken. And John mentions also in his gospel their lack of understanding of what was to happen to Jesus in his gospel, found in the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 8 through 10. For as yet they knew not the scripture that he must rise again from the dead. Then the disciples went away again unto their own home. Now some of these scriptures show that the disciples did not fully understand that Jesus was going to be resurrected on the third day. Perhaps it was because Jesus refers to himself as the Son of Man. Exactly what they did understand is not very clear, but they were very confused about these events, both before they happened and when they happened. So after hearing all this about the lack of understanding of the disciples, why then is Thomas's doubt so unreasonable? Now we don't really know if Thomas doubted any more or less than the other disciples. All we know is that he faced up to his doubts by admitting them and declaring them in his statement found in the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verses 24 through 25. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, We have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, Except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. What was Jesus' reaction to this? Well, it appears that he really didn't chastise Tom for requiring this kind of evidence or proof. His response was more of a general nature concerning belief, and it comes also in the Gospel of John, chapter 20, verse 29. Jesus saith unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. We don't believe in the resurrection because we've actually seen the resurrected Christ, but we believe because we place our hope in the promises of God. For me personally, it's my hope that brings about my faith. It's not in seeing, but in hoping for the very things that are not seen, in accord with Romans. From Romans chapter 8, verse 24 and 25, Paul tells us this. For in hope we are saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, because who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we eagerly wait for it with endurance. I think that many people have put too much of a negative spin on poor Thomas. Perhaps it's because people want to relate to his doubts. But I find no evidence that any of the other disciples actually believed without seeing the resurrected Christ either. So why does that make Thomas the bad guy here? He simply didn't believe in the testimony of the disciples about Jesus. But the disciples themselves did not believe the testimony of Mary, according to Matthew's Gospel. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were the only ones who believed without actually seeing the resurrected Lord. They believed the testimony of the angel that they met at the tomb with joy. And we find this in Matthew chapter 28, verse 5 through 8. And the angel answered and said unto the women, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly, and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him. Lo, I have told you. And they departed quickly from the sepulchre, with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And according to Matthew, even when Jesus appeared to the 11 disciples, some doubted. This comes from Matthew chapter 28, verse 17. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. The next verses from Mark are not in all the Greek manuscripts, but they still support the idea that none of the disciples believed the testimony of others that Jesus had risen from the dead. So from Mark chapter 16, verse 10 through 14, she went out and told those who were with him while they were mourning and weeping. And when they heard that he was alive and had been seen by her, they did not believe. After this, he appeared in a different form to 2 of them while they were on their way to the country. They went back and they told the rest, but they did not believe them. Then he appeared to the 11 themselves while they were eating, and he rebuked them for their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they did not believe those who had seen him resurrected. And here's another example of what happened here from Luke chapter 24, verses 10 through 12. It was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary the mother of James and other women that were with them, which told these things unto the disciples. And their words seemed to them as idle tales, and they believed them not. Then arose Peter and ran into the sepulchre. And stooping down, he beheld the linen clothes laid by themselves, and departed, wondering in himself at that which was come to pass. All these scriptures tell the same story, that the disciples did not believe until they actually saw Jesus, and some even still doubted. I don't doubt the resurrection of Christ, because my faith is not based on some historical evidence. It's based upon my hope in everything that Christ stands for. Perhaps this is what Jesus was saying when he said that we who believe without seeing are blessed, because our faith is not based upon physical evidence, but upon something better, hope. As far as doubt is concerned, I have found that doubt has been very helpful to me, because it drives me towards truth. Doubt makes me look harder into what I see and hear in order to determine its truthfulness. This is how I determine what I will believe and what I will not believe. As an example, I just don't believe that someone found magical plates buried in the woods declaring that they are God's prophet, and that I'm supposed to listen and obey everything that they tell me. Nor do I believe someone who tries to make me believe that Scripture says something when I do not believe that it does. That's when I require evidence and proof. Does that make me a doubting Thomas? I don't think so. I think it falls into the advice that Paul gave to the Galatians and what John gave to us all, telling us to test or prove the spirits to see if they are of God. Perhaps Jesus' comment to Thomas was what we call a teaching moment, where his comment, although given to Thomas, was actually meant for them all. So what did I learn from this story? I learned that we have to be truthful about our doubts, both with ourselves and with God. He will hear us and our doubts, and he will respond to us. And through our doubt, we will be led into the truth, which in the case of Thomas was that he declared that Jesus was both his Lord and his God. I also think that I probably shouldn't refer to Thomas as the doubting Thomas any longer. The Bible doesn't refer to him in this way, and neither should I. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to our next video. Please leave any comments below for me, or if you have a different opinion about Thomas, please leave that as well. Have a great day and blessings to you all. Bye-bye.